Hey guys, welcome to Bipolar Boxing. Let's get into some UFC Freedom 250 picks. This one's going to be Sean O'Malley versus Zahabi, I believe his name is. It's Zahabi's kid. And I remember when this guy came to the UFC, I had high hopes for him. And then I think he started off 1-3. And it was that loss to Vince Morales that I cannot get out of my head. Vince Morales was a halfway decent fighter back then, but Vince Morales has turned into a pretty bad fighter in the UFC. I mean, he might be like, the bottom like 10 fighters of the UFC, Vince Morales. Like he's a guy that should not be there. And I think he's another guy, like I said in my one of my previous videos, they kind of just keep a guy like that around to see like, hey, can you get past Vince Morales? Like I think they had one of their prospects fight him recently. I think it was Sharhab or no, not Sharhab Bullet. I forget who it was, but it's just like yeah, or maybe it was Rojas that they just kind of threw him in there, and it's like yeah, you got to beat a guy like Vince Morales, and to be honest, it should be a showcase fight for you. You should knock this guy out. I mean, Zahabi lost to that guy, and I think a lot of it was his game planning back then. He didn't have the best game planning, or he just didn't know what he was doing with his UFC career because he's only 14-2, I believe, but he's 38 years old. So it seems like he got a very late start to this sport. Now, I'm sure he's been in it his whole life with his dad being Razahabi, but he's had a great winning streak. He's won ever since that Vince Morales fight. I think he lost to Ricardo Ramos, which I ain't mad at that loss. It's a good loss. Ricardo Ramos was good, but then he lost to Vince Morales right after that, and then he went on like a string of there's like 7 fights or something like that, and they're not bad names either. It's guys like let me see, you got Chito Vera. That kind of scares me a little bit that he had to eke out a split decision win over Chito Vera. Chito Vera's not that good, especially anymore. Even though he beat Don O'Malley, I know that, but Chito Vera's look, he's a tough fighter, but he ain't special at nothing. He's got, good stand up or whatever, but he ain't got takedown defense. He's a very just a one-dimensional fighter who relies on his toughness. But the Jose Aldo win was good. The Pedro Munoz, that's a really good win. The Javid Basharat win, that was the win that kind of put him on the map for me. When he beat Basharat, I thought Basharat was going to be like the next maybe star in this division. And I remember Zahabi dominated him in that fight because I remember having a pretty good amount on Basharat for that fight because he was a big favorite too. And Zahabi dominated him in that fight. Um, and then you got wins like Arletang and stuff like that. Those all those one name Mongolian Asian fighters that are tough as shit with short arms, who they hit like a fucking truck, but they can't usually can't reach guys like Zahabi. Zahabi, I looked him up. Like it says he's 5'8". I thought he was a lot taller than that. I thought he was almost going to be the size of O'Malley, but it says O'Malley's 5'11". I did not think there was 3 inches of height difference between those guys. But a guy like O'Malley is he is a sniper. He's not even a striking specialist. Like he is a sniper, and he can fight off his back foot. Most fighters, it's like when they go on their back foot, it's like you think they're getting dominated sometimes. Or they're like, oh, he's pushing so and so back. It's like he's not getting pushed back. He's stepping back purposely and waiting for you because he believes that you're going to strike and you're going to make a mistake, and I'm just going to counter that mistake, and that's what O'Malley does. Um, I think O'Malley's. I mean, he's either overrated or underrated depending on who you are because he's got really good wins on his resume that some people don't give him credit for. Some people, sometimes nobody will give, including me. I ain't gonna give him no credit for that damn Peter Yan win because he didn't win that fight. But other fights, like the last fight, Song Yadong. Song Yadong's a really good fighter, and he beat Song Yadong, and that was kind of a fight with his back up against the wall because he had those 2 losses to Dvalishvili, which we can excuse those losses as long as you win your next fight. Like that's what I was just talking about with Zahabi. Like I can understand a Ricardo Ramos loss. He's a great fighter, but I can't forgive you for losing to Vince Morales in the next fight. So now I look at that Ricardo Ramos loss. I'm like, yeah, it's a good loss, but like Morales is a really bad loss. So, I don't know what to think there. And O'Malley doesn't have any performances like that on his resume. His only losses are to, the Chito Vera one. But I think that was a weird fight where I almost think his leg got destroyed in that fight. Almost like when who's that fucking moron that he fought? There was that Asian dude who fought O'Malley earlier in his career, and I remember O'Malley won the first 2 rounds, and then this guy broke O'Malley's leg, I believe, with leg kicks. O'Malley couldn't stand. He backed up to the cage and pretty much just laid down, and the guy, I forget who the hell it was, but he just went and like rolled around with O'Malley on the ground for the rest of the third round when O'Malley couldn't stand. If he would have made O'Malley stand up, I'm pretty sure he would have won by knockout because O'Malley wouldn't have been able to stand. And he stood there and wrestled with the guy for the rest of the third round and then just lost the decision 2-1. And I remember because I bet that guy as a big underdog because I hated O'Malley back then. But like I think O'Malley's kind of like a cringe guy, but once again, like you can't let that get in the way of how hard he's working in the gym, and like don't look at his skills and all just because I don't like his pink hair or something like that. Like the guy's a really good fighter, and especially like me, I'm a boxing guy. Like I love his striking, and he's a very smart fighter. It's just you can't implement your striking with a guy like Merab Dvalishvili who's short and stocky with those tiny little T-Rex arms, who's just going to blast at you, and you got to constantly defend takedowns. Like, O'Malley don't want to be doing none of that shit. And he wouldn't fight a guy like that if that guy didn't have the title. But unfortunately, he did, and he got exposed, but only exposed if you're fighting another guy like Rob Davalishvili, which that guy doesn't exist. So, yeah, against a guy like Zahabi here, it's hard for me not to pick O'Malley. He's a huge favorite. He's minus 450, but once again, like I'm not watching these fights and be sitting there with my money on Zahabi and then just be mad when O'Malley just picks him apart the whole fight. Like you just got to go with the safer pick, and it's O'Malley for this one. O'Malley can knock him out. He can win a decision. If Sahabi wants, it's hard for me to see O'Malley losing a fight that's not going to go to the ground. I don't see this one going to the ground. I don't think Zahabi's ground game is good enough. So stand up fight. I'm going to go with O'Malley 30-27 decision. I don't think it should be that difficult. It might be kind of a boring fight because I think Zahabi is going to find out really early, like the speed and the IQ of O'Malley is going to be very frustrating. And he's going to be coming forward, but he's going to be taking less and less chances as he gets picked off, in my opinion. And I just think O'Malley just cruises to an easy decision. O'Malley doesn't. I know he's been kind of promoted as this one punch knockout artist, but he's really not that to me. He's just, I think he's more of a point fighter. And hey, if the knockout comes, it comes, which those are the guys, I love those guys. Don't go after knockouts. You don't need to get knockouts. You just need to win fights. And oh, that's what O'Malley does. And he's a really smart fighter, and his back's kind of against the wall here. Also, he knows that because Jan's a champ, they're going to want to set that fight up. Oh, Jan's getting old. I think Jan's like 36, 37 years old. This is a perfect time for O'Malley to capture that belt again. And it's probably going to be an undeserved title shot again because for some reason they have him over Umar Nurmagomedov in the rankings. And I think if you put those two together, I would take Nurmagomedov minus like 300 or 350 against O'Malley. But I don't think that fight will ever happen because they don't want to ruin their cash cow. And like, look, I get it, but he's already at number 3. So if he wins this fight, it's a top 15 fighter. I think Zahabi's right at 14. So I think you have to make Jan versus O'Malley after this. Um, Also, the UFC has a new. Actually, I think those were the Tapology rankings that I was looking at. I don't know if those are the real rankings or not. I think it's just their rankings. But the UFC does have a new ranking format that I heard about on the last card, and it's something like they take into account like how dominant you are in each performance, who you're fighting and whatever. But it's a different ranking system, and it's based a lot of I think it's gonna be based a lot on, like, they don't want boring performances and stuff like that. So if they see you just took the guy down and held him down for 15 minutes, they're not gonna move you up in the rankings, but if you fought a really good fight, even though you lost, I think they're gonna start moving people up in the rankings even though they lost because they put on a good performance, and, depending on, who they were fighting and whatever. But, yeah, just give me O'Malley, cruise into an easy win. UFC 250, it's a huge stage. O'Malley definitely wants to win this, and then that's going to make his next fight even bigger because all these eyes. This is another thing about this card. Like, there's going to be a lot of eyes on this card. More than half of the people watching this card are not going to be UFC fans. They're just going to be casuals, like tuning in to watch a fight because it's Sunday night. There ain't going to be any other sports on besides baseball, I believe. I think Sunday night basketball and hockey might have a day off, I believe. I don't know how the way they're doing the traveling with those. I think they both got Sunday off. So if you don't have NHL or NBA going on, everyone's going to be watching this UFC 250 and O'Malley's gonna want to shine. So I think he's just going to put on a dominant performance. But you don't want to lose on a big stage like this. So that's why I don't think he's going to get the knockout because in order to get knockouts, you have to take more risks. I don't think O'Malley's going to want to risk it. Not with a title shot. Pretty much your next fight probably. So just cruise to an easy 37 win. And I think this fight goes the distance either way because if Zahabi wins, I mean, it's just going to be a close, probably split decision where he ekes him out in a boring striking fight, and maybe he mixes in one takedown here and there. But yeah, I see this fight going the distance either way. But just give me O'Malley, pretty easy decision win. Have a good night, guys.